everyone, welcome back to my channel, Numerics with Nadia. In today's video, we are going to go over the Pythagorean Theorem. This was requested by one of you guys in a comment on my last video, so we'll be going over that today. As always, feel free to comment any questions or any topics you guys would like me to do a video on down in the comment box, and I'll make sure to answer your guys' questions and make a video on whatever topics that you guys need help on. As for today's lesson, as I mentioned, we're going to do a full lesson on the Pythagorean Theorem. We will first go over what it is, as well as when it's used, because this is a theorem used specifically only for one scenario. And as always, we will do a few practice problems. So to start out, what is the Pythagorean theorem? It's written on this little mini chalkboard here. It is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we have the diagram as well. Well, what do all of these letters mean? What do they represent? Each letter in this triangle represents a different side. So A is the perpendicular side, right? That's the vertical side that makes the angle a right angle. Then we have our base, B, and then our hypotenuse, C. So the hypotenuse is the side across from our 90-degree angle. And what is something that we're seeing in this specific triangle? This is a right triangle, right? So I'm writing a note here for you guys, and this is very, very important. You can only apply this theorem if it is a right triangle, right? Because there wouldn't be a hypotenuse or a perpendicular side in any other type of triangle. So keep that in mind. Now that we've gone through what it looks like visually, what all the sides represent, and the fact that the Pythagorean theorem is only used for right triangles, now we'll read through the formal definition of the Pythagorean theorem and what it says. So this theorem states that in a right triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse equals the sum of the squares of the other two sides. So in other words, a squared plus b squared, right? The sum of the squares of the other two sides, that would equal c squared, which is the squared length of the hypotenuse. So now that we've gone over what it looks like visually, what all the terms represent, the fact that it's used only for right triangles, and what the theorem states, now we can get into a few practice problems just to really solidify this. And we're going to solve for different sides and be given different things just so we're very comfortable with this topic. The directions for our practice section say to find the missing leg of the triangle. And for our first practice problem here, I've copy pasted a picture of our diagram. And as you can see, we have two sides and we're looking for the third. So I'm going to write the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We are given a, we know that a equals 3. We are given b, we know that b equals 4. And we are looking for c. We are solving for our hypotenuse here. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute in these values. We know a is 3 and we know b is 4. So we have 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. We know 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, and that would equal c squared. When we add together, we see that it's 25 equals c squared. So to get rid of that square, we will square root both sides, and when we do that, usually it's positive and negative values, but in this case, since we're looking for a side length, it would not be negative, right? So we get that c equals 5. So that's it for our first practice problem. Now we'll move on to our second one. For number 2, we have this purple triangle. We are given two side lengths and we have to solve for the other one. I'm going to rewrite the theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We don't know a, so that's what we're going to solve for. We are given that b equals 16 and c equals 20. So we're given our base and our hypotenuse here, and we're solving for the other side. So it would be a squared plus 16 squared equals 20 squared. 16 squared, I'll do that on the side with you guys. When we multiply 16 times 16 together, we end up getting 256. So it would be a squared plus 256 equals, we know 20 squared is just 20 times 20, which is 400. So a squared plus 256 equals 400. Now to get the a squared alone, we have to subtract that 256 on both sides. When we do that, we know that 400 minus 256, when we subtract, that just gives us 144. So if we have a squared equals 144, we would just take the square root of each side. And when we do that, we end up getting that a equals 12. So that would be our missing side length for number 2. And now we will move on to our third practice problem for today. For number 3, our triangle has 2 sides. We are given the side length that a equals 10 and that b equals 24, and we're solving for c, our hypotenuse here. So when I go through and substitute, I get 10 squared plus 24 squared equals c squared. We know that 10 squared, well, that's just 10 times 10, so that's 100. But for 24 squared, I will do that on the side for you guys. When we do 24 times 24, we end up getting 576. So if we add 100 and 576, we would get 676, and 676 would be equal to c squared. So what we would do next to get rid of that square is to square root both sides. And when you take the square root of 676, you end up getting 26. So 26 would be our answer for number 3. And now we will move on to our last practice problem for today's video. In this triangle, we have 3 sides. We're only given 2. We are given that a equals 10. We're not given b here, so that's what we're going to solve for. And we're given that c, the hypotenuse, is 26. So if I substitute that into our Pythagorean theorem, I would get 10 squared plus b squared equals 26 squared. We know 10 squared is 100. For 26 squared, we just did that. We know that 26 squared is 676. So if I subtract on both sides, I get that b squared equals 576. And if I take the square root on both sides, I get that b equals 24. So that would be our answer for our final practice problem. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to like the video if you enjoyed it, comment down below any other questions or any other video topics you guys would like to see. Subscribe if you haven't already, share this video with a friend, and I will see you guys next time.